Taman's eyes opened slowly. Everything hurt. His head felt like someone was hitting it with a hammer from the inside. The ceiling above him glowed with a soft blue light that moved like water. This was not his ship. This was not anywhere he recognized. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his ribs. A gentle hand pushed him back down. The hand had 4 fingers instead of 5. Taman's breath caught in his throat. He turned his head and saw her. She was tall, maybe 7 feet if she stood up. Her skin had a strange quality to it, shifting between purple and silver depending on how the light hit it. She had 4 arms, 2 on each side of her body. Her face was humanoid, but not quite human. Her eyes were larger, more like an owl's eyes, and they were completely black with tiny stars of light dancing inside them. She wore simple clothing that looked like it was made from plants. "You are awake," she said in perfect Korean. Her voice was melodic, almost like singing. "Good, I was worried about your head injury." Taman stared at her. His mind was trying to catch up with what he was seeing. An alien, a real alien, not through a screen or a video feed. "Right here, close enough to touch. Where am I?" he managed to say. His voice sounded rough and dry. "You are in my tent, on Valara Prime. You crashed 3 days ago." She reached for something beside her and brought a cup to his lips. "Drink, it is water. Safe for humans," he drank. The water was cool and tasted slightly sweet. As his mind cleared, memories came rushing back. The diplomatic mission, the system malfunction, the terrible sound of metal tearing apart, the crash, my crew. Taman said suddenly, trying to sit up again despite the pain. "Where are they?" The alien woman gently pushed him down once more. "I do not know. I found only you in the wreckage. Your ship broke into many pieces when it entered our atmosphere. You were in an escape pod about 50 kilometers from here. I brought you back to my camp." Taman closed his eyes. "Hana, Dongwu, young me, were they alive? Were they looking for him?" "My name is Nira," the alien woman said. "I am a researcher. I study the primitive human settlements on the border worlds. You are the first person from Earth I have met directly." "Taman," he said, opening his eyes again. "My name is Taman," Nira smiled. It was a strange smile, wider than a human smile, showing small pointed teeth, but there was kindness in it. "Taman, I know. You told me many things while you were unconscious." His face grew hot. "What things?" Her smile grew wider, more amused. "Many things. You spoke about your mission. About your family. About your home city, and—" She paused, her black eyes seeming to sparkle more brightly. "You talked about me." "What?" Taman felt his embarrassment deepen. "I did not even know you. Your neural patterns were active while you healed. I have devices that can pick up brainwave signals and translate some thoughts into language. It is how I learned your language so quickly." Nira tilted her head in a very bird-like manner. "You described me as hauntingly beautiful. Those were your exact words." Taman wanted to disappear into the floor. I was injured. Not thinking clearly." "Perhaps," Nira said, clearly enjoying his discomfort. "Or perhaps humans simply process new experiences differently than Valari do. We find it fascinating how emotional you are." "We are not that emotional," Taman protested weakly. "You crashed on an alien planet, woke up in a strange place with a strange being, and your first concern was for your crew members. Then you felt embarrassment about words you spoke in your sleep. That is very emotional." Nira stood up, all 4 of her arms moving gracefully. "Rest now. You need more healing. I will bring food." She left through a flap in the tent wall. Taman looked around properly for the first time. The tent was made of something that looked like crystal but bent like fabric. Strange tools and devices lined the walls. Books or tablets, he could not tell which, were stacked in neat piles. Everything glowed faintly with its own light. He touched his chest and found bandages. Good bandages, carefully applied. Nira had saved his life. An alien he had never met had pulled him from wreckage and healed him. Why, Nira returned carrying a tray. On it were fruits that looked almost like earth fruits, but not quite. The colors were wrong. Too bright. "These are safe for human digestion," she said, setting the tray beside him. "I have files on human biology. Your species needs many specific nutrients." "Thank you," Taman said. He took one of the fruits. It tasted like a mix between a peach and something spicy. "Strange but not bad. Why did you save me?" he asked between bites. Nira sat down cross-legged on the floor, folding all 4 arms in her lap. "Because you needed saving. Is that not reason enough? But you do not know me. You do not know humans. We could be dangerous," she laughed. It sounded like wind chimes. You are dangerous. All species are dangerous in their own ways. But you are also interesting. Humans are the newest species to reach space travel. You do it without genetic modifications, without biological advantages, just determination and clever thinking. My people find that remarkable. Your people do not like humans, Taman asked carefully. My people do not understand humans yet, Nira corrected. We Valari have always been strong, always been smart. We evolved with advantages. But humans, you are weak by galactic standards, slow, fragile. You live such short lives, yet you explore the stars anyway. You fight battles you should not win. You survive situations that should kill you. It makes no sense to us. So we are like a puzzle to you? Yes, a very interesting puzzle. Nira leaned forward. Your beacon is not working. The crash damaged it completely. But I can help you build a new one if you help me understand humans better. A fair trade, yes? Taman thought about it. He needed to contact his crew to let Earth know what happened. But that could take days or weeks. And Nira was offering help. Fair trade, he agreed. Nira's smile returned. Good. Then we begin tomorrow. Tonight you rest and heal. Tomorrow I teach you about Valara Prime and you teach me about Earth. I think we will both learn many surprising things. She was right, Taman thought as he finished the strange fruit. Though he had no idea just how right she was, or how much everything was about to change. 3 days passed. Taman felt stronger each morning. The pain in his ribs faded to a dull ache. His head no longer pounded with every movement. Nira had been right about her medical skills. Whatever she had done to heal him was working. The research camp was larger than Taman first thought. Nira's tent was just one of 5 structures arranged in a circle around a central fire pit. Though the fire was not really fire, just another glowing crystal that provided warmth without smoke. Beyond the camp, the forest of Valara Prime stretched in every direction. The trees here grew in spirals, their bark shimmering like oil on water. Strange bird-like creatures sang in voices that sounded like human children laughing. It was beautiful and unsettling at the same time. Nira worked constantly, always writing notes or recording observations on her devices. She had dozens of questions about everything. What did humans eat for breakfast? Why did they wear so many different types of clothing? How did families work? Why did humans shake hands when they met? Taman answered as best he could, though some questions made him realize how little he thought about his own culture. Things that seemed normal to him were completely foreign to Nira. Explain marriage again, Nira said one morning while they sat outside her tent. She was using 2 hands to write notes while her other 2 hands prepared some kind of drink. 2 people decide they want to spend their lives together, Taman said, watching her multitask with fascination. They have a ceremony, make promises to each other. Then they are married. But why? Nira asked, genuinely confused. Valari choose mates for reproduction when needed. But we do not bind ourselves to one partner forever. That seems limiting. It is about love, Taman tried to explain. Companionship. Building a life together. Love. Nira tested the word like it was sour in her mouth. This emotion that makes humans do irrational things. Yes, I have read about it. Very inefficient, Taman laughed despite himself. Maybe. But it is important to us. Humans are very strange, Nira said, but she was smiling again. She handed him a cup of the drink she had prepared. Try this. It is morning tea from the valley flowers. Taman sniffed it. It smelled like mint and honey. He took a careful sip. Immediately he spat it out, coughing. His eyes watered. It tasted like he had drunk liquid fire mixed with rotten eggs. Nira's expression shifted to concern, all 4 of her hands reaching toward him. What is wrong? The chemical analysis said it was safe for human consumption. Safe does not mean tasty, Taman gasped, wiping his mouth. That was horrible. Horrible? Nira looked at her own cup, then took a long drink. It tastes pleasant to me, sweet and refreshing. Our taste sensors must be very different, Taman said, still trying to get the taste out of his mouth. Do you have any of that fruit from the first day? Nira brought him water instead and some dried strips of something that tasted like salty bread. Crisis averted. That afternoon, Taman examined Nira's equipment. She had communication devices, environmental scanners, and recording tools, but some of them were not working properly. This one has been broken for weeks, Nira said, pointing to a large scanner. A storm damaged the power coupling. I have not been able to fix it. Taman studied the device. The technology was more advanced than Earth's equipment, but the basic principles seemed similar. Energy source, circuit pathways, output receiver. He asked Nira for some tools. "What are you doing?" she asked, watching as he carefully opened the device's panel. "Fixing it." "Maybe." Taemin located the damaged part. The power coupling was cracked, leaking energy inefficiently. He looked around the camp and spotted some metal wire from the wreckage of his escape pod. "Can I use that?" Nira brought him the wire. For the next hour, Taemin worked carefully, rewiring the coupling using a bypass method. It was crude, not elegant like the original design, but when he powered it on, the scanner hummed to life. Nira stared at the working device, then at Taemin, then back at the device. "How did you do that?" "You do not know Valari technology." "I do not need to know everything about your technology," Taemin said, feeling proud of himself. "Just the basics. Energy in, energy out. The rest is problem solving. Humans are good at improvising." Improvising. Nira picked up the scanner, examining his repair work with all four of her eyes moving independently to see different angles. "You used inferior materials and a simpler design, yet it functions. This is very human, yes? Making something from nothing." "We do what we have to do," Taemin said. "Humans did not always have advanced technology. We learned to survive with whatever we could find. I guess that mindset never left us." Over the next few days, Taemin repaired 2 more of Nira's devices using similar improvised methods. Each time, she watched with intense fascination, recording everything he did. "My colleagues will not believe this," she said while he worked on a water filtration unit. A human with basic tools doing what trained Valari engineers said was impossible without replacement parts. "It is not impossible," Taemin said, concentrating on connecting 2 incompatible components. "Just difficult. There is always a way if you think creatively enough." That evening, they sat by the glowing crystal fire. The spiral trees cast strange shadows in the fading light. Taemin had been on Valara Prime for almost a week now. His beacon still did not work, but he was making progress. More importantly, he was learning about the Valari, and they were learning about humans through him. "Taemin," Nira said quietly.
"May I ask you something personal?"
"Yes. Why did you join the space exploration program? Humans live such short lives compared to other species, only 70 or 80 cycles at most. Why spend that precious time traveling to dangerous places far from home?" Taemin thought about it. He looked up at the sky where 3 moons were rising, each a different color. "Because if we do not, who will? Earth is wonderful, but it is small. There is so much universe out there to see and understand. My life is short, yes, but I want it to mean something. I want to help build bridges between species, to prove that humans deserve a place among the stars. Even if it is dangerous, even if you might not return home. Even then." Nira was quiet for a long moment. "That is very human," she finally said. "Brave and foolish at the same time, but also admirable. I think I am beginning to understand why your species fascinates the galaxy so much. And I am beginning to understand why the Valari are known for their wisdom," Taemin said. "You could have left me in that wreckage, but you saved me. Not because you had to, but because you thought it was right. That says something good about your people, too." Nira's smile was different this time, warmer, less amused and more genuine. "Perhaps we are not so different, your species and mine. We just show it in different ways." As the night deepened, they continued talking, sharing stories about their worlds. And for the first time since the crash, Taemin felt something other than worry about his crew. He felt hope. Hope that this meeting, this unexpected friendship, might be the beginning of something important, something that could change how humans were seen in the galaxy. He had no idea how right he was. The morning of the 8th day started like the others. Taemin woke to the sound of the spiral trees singing in the wind. He had learned to identify the different bird calls now. The red ones that sounded like laughter usually meant good weather. He stretched carefully, pleased that his ribs barely hurt anymore. Nira was already awake, sitting outside and staring at one of her devices with unusual intensity. All 4 of her hands moved quickly across the screen, her face tense in a way Taemin had not seen before. "What is wrong?" he asked, approaching her. She looked up. The sparkle in her black eyes seemed dimmer. "I received a distress signal during the night. From a settlement about 2 days' travel from here. They are asking for help." Taemin sat beside her. "What kind of help?" "The Kreth Dominion has been spotted near their territory." Nira's voice was tight with worry. The Kreth are a militaristic species. They raid smaller colonies, taking resources and technology. They have attacked 3 Valari settlements in the past year. What do they want? Ancient Valari technology. Weapons, mostly. Nira set down her device and looked at him directly. Thousands of years ago, my people were warriors. We built terrible weapons before we learned wisdom and peace. Most of those weapons were destroyed or hidden, but the Kreth believe we still have caches of them hidden across our planets. They raid and interrogate our people, trying to find locations. Taimin felt a chill despite the warm morning air. We need to warn the settlement. Yes, but my long-range communication array was damaged in the storm 2 weeks ago. I have been meaning to repair it, but... She gestured at the complex equipment. It requires parts I do not have here. I need to go to the settlement myself to warn them. They need to evacuate before the Kreth arrive. How far is it? 2 days' travel through the wilderness. The terrain is dangerous. There are predators, unstable ground, and the weather can change in moments. Nira stood up, her forearms crossing in what Taemin had learned was a gesture of frustration. I must go alone. You are still healing. No, Taemin said firmly. I am going with you. Nira looked at him like he had suggested jumping off a cliff. Taemin, you do not understand how dangerous the wilderness is. There are creatures that could kill you in seconds. The terrain would exhaust you. Humans are not built for this environment. Maybe not, Taemin agreed, but I am trained for survival situations. I was in the military before I joined the diplomatic corps. And you need help. What if something happens to you on the way? Who will warn the settlement then? I am stronger than you, faster. I have 4 arms instead of 2. My people evolved for this planet's conditions. Strength is not everything, Taemin countered. You taught me that. Remember what you said about humans? That we survive situations we should not survive, that we win battles we should not win. Trust me, I can help. Nira studied him for a long moment. He could see her calculating, weighing options. Finally, she sighed. You are very stubborn. It is a human trait, a frustrating one. But there was a hint of her smile returning. Very well, but you must follow my instructions exactly. If I tell you to run, you run. If I tell you to hide, you hide. Agreed? Agreed. They spent the morning preparing. Nira packed supplies into 2 bags, things that looked like they might be food and medical equipment. She gave Taemin a device that attached to his belt. This is an environmental shield generator, she explained. It will protect you from the most extreme temperature changes and filter out toxic spores. Do not lose it, Taemin clipped it on. What about weapons? Weapons? Nira looked puzzled. I have tools, but no weapons. Valari do not carry weapons. The Kreth have weapons. Yes, but they are not here yet. We are going to warn the settlement, not fight. Taemin was not so sure about that, but he kept quiet. He searched through what remained of his escape pod wreckage and found a piece of metal about the length of his forearm. It was sharp on one edge. Not much, but better than nothing. Nira watched him strap the makeshift knife to his leg with torn fabric. You think we will need that? I hope not, Taemin said honestly. But hoping is not the same as being prepared. They left the camp at midday when the suns were highest. Yes, suns, plural. Valara Prime orbited 2 stars, which meant the light here was always slightly wrong to Taemin's earth-trained eyes. Too bright and too soft at the same time. The forest was different once they left the cleared area around the camp. The trees grew closer together, their spiral trunks creating maze-like passages. Strange plants with crystalline leaves chimed when the wind touched them. The ground was covered in moss that glowed faintly in the shadows. Nira moved with confidence, using all 4 arms to push through dense vegetation or climb over fallen trees. Taemin followed, trying to remember the survival training from his military days. Watch where you step. Conserve energy. Stay alert. After several hours, they reached a river. The water was not blue like earth water. It was clear but had a faint golden shimmer to it. Beautiful and alien. We need to cross here, Nira said. The current is strong but shallow near those rocks. Follow my path exactly. Taemin nodded. He watched as Nira waded into the water, using her forearms for balance. She made it look easy. When it was his turn, the current was much stronger than he expected. The water pulled at his legs, trying to sweep him downstream. He focused on each step, placing his feet carefully on the slippery rocks. Halfway across, his foot slipped. He fell hard into the water. The current grabbed him immediately, pulling him away from the crossing point. He tried to swim, but the flow was too strong. "Time in!" Nira's voice cut through the sound of rushing water. He saw a rock ahead, barely breaking the surface. He angled toward it and grabbed on with both hands. The current wanted to rip him away, but he held tight. His fingers ached. Nira appeared beside him seconds later, moving through the water with incredible speed. Two of her hands grabbed his arms while her other two secured herself to the rock. "I have you," she said. Together, they made it to the far bank. Tai Min collapsed on the ground, coughing up golden water. His entire body shook from cold and adrenaline. "You see?" Nira said, but her voice was not unkind. "This is why I said it was dangerous." "I see," Tai Min managed between coughs. "But I made it." "We made it," Nira helped him stand. "Yes, we did. Come, we need to find shelter before dark. The night predators are worse than anything you have seen yet." They continued into the deepening forest. Taemin was soaked and tired, but he pushed forward. Behind them, the last light of the twin suns faded. Ahead, somewhere in the darkness, a settlement full of innocent people needed warning. And somewhere beyond that, the Kreth were coming. Taemin touched the makeshift knife at his leg. He hoped they would reach the settlement in time. But more than that, he hoped that when the danger came, he could prove that humans were more than just fragile curiosities. They were survivors. They were fighters, and they never gave up. Night came fast on Valara Prime. One moment there was light from the twin suns, the next there was darkness broken only by the 3 moons and the bioluminescent plants. Everything glowed. The moss, the tree bark, even some of the insects that flew between the branches. It was beautiful but made it hard to see clearly. Shadows moved everywhere, and Taemin could not tell what was real and what was just light playing tricks. They found shelter in a cave formed by 2 massive trees that had grown together. Nira checked the space carefully with all 4 of her hands feeling along the walls before declaring it safe. She pulled out a small device that created a warm bubble of air around them. The chill of the night stayed outside. "Rest now," Nira said, settling against one wall. "I will keep watch first." "Wake me in a few hours," Taemin insisted. "We should take turns." Nira looked like she wanted to argue, but nodded instead. "A few hours, then." Taemin tried to sleep, but his mind would not quiet. He kept thinking about the Kreth, about the settlement, about his crew. Were Hana and the others looking for him? Did they think he was dead? His hand touched the broken beacon device on his belt. Soon, he promised himself. Soon he would fix it and call for help. A sound woke him. Not Nira's voice, but something else. Something outside the cave. A low growling that made his skin crawl. He opened his eyes to find Nira alert. All 4 of her hands positioned defensively. The growling came again, closer now. Through the cave entrance, Taemin saw movement. Big movement. 6 shapes circled outside. They looked like wolves, but wrong. Too many legs. 6 legs each, and their heads were wider, flatter. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness, and their teeth were clearly visible. "Very long teeth, do not move," Nira whispered. "Rakar predators. Very dangerous." The creatures paced back and forth, sniffing the air. One of them took a step closer to the cave entrance. Then another step. It could smell them, Taemin realized. It was only a matter of time before they attacked. "How do we fight them?" Taemin asked quietly. "We do not. We run when they enter and hope they are slow in small spaces." "That is a terrible plan. Do you have a better one?" Taemin looked around the cave quickly. Rocks, some fallen branches, the glowing moss. His military training kicked in. Never fight fair. Use every advantage. Change the battlefield. "Yes," he said. "Help me gather those branches." They worked quickly and quietly while the Rakar circled. Taemin arranged the branches near the cave entrance in a specific pattern, then covered them with loose rocks balanced carefully. It was a simple trap, but it might work. "What is this?" Nira whispered. "Watch." The largest Rakar decided to stop circling. It charged toward the cave entrance with a roar. The moment it stepped on the branches, Taemin kicked one of the support sticks. The rocks came tumbling down, hitting the creature's legs and head. It yelped in pain and stumbled backward into 2 of its packmates. Chaos erupted. The Rakar snarled and snapped at each other, confused about what had happened. In their confusion, they forgot about the cave. "Now," Taemin said. "While they are distracted, we go around them." They moved fast. Nira led the way, using her 4 arms to swing from tree branches above the confused predators. Taemin followed on the ground, running as quietly as he could. By the time the Rakar realized their prey was escaping, they were too far behind to catch up. They did not stop running until the sounds of the pack faded completely. Finally, they paused to catch their breath beside a stream that glowed silver in the moonlight. "That was clever," Nira said between breaths. "You used the environment against them. Change the situation to our advantage. Humans are not the strongest species," Taemin said, his own breathing heavy. "So we learned to think differently. To fight smarter instead of harder. Fight smarter." Nira repeated the phrase like she was memorizing it. "I am starting to understand why humans survived long enough to reach space. You adapt. You improvise. Like fixing my equipment but for everything." They rested for a few minutes, then continued. The night was still dangerous, but they moved carefully, staying alert. When dawn finally came, both suns rising together in a display of pink and orange light. Taemin felt relief wash over him. They had survived the night. The second day of travel was harder. The terrain became rocky and steep. They had to climb over boulders and edge along narrow paths beside deep drops. Taemin's muscles burned with fatigue, but he pushed forward. Nira occasionally looked back at him with concern, but he waved her on. He could do this. Around midday, they stopped beside a field of strange flowers that smelled like cinnamon and turned their heads to follow the light. Nira shared food from her pack, dried strips of something nutritious but bland. They ate in silence, both conserving energy. "Can I ask you something?" Nira said after a while. "Of course. Why do humans fight so hard? Your species has been in wars constantly throughout your history. Even now, even in space, you train for combat. Why? Most species learn peace eventually, but humans seem to always expect conflict." Taemin thought carefully about his answer. "We do not want to fight, but we learned from experience that danger can come when you least expect it. Peace is wonderful, but you cannot have peace if you are not strong enough to defend it. We hope for the best but prepare for the worst." "That sounds exhausting." "It is," Taemin admitted, "but it also means we are hard to surprise, hard to defeat. We survive because we never assume safety." Nira tilted her head in that bird-like way of hers. "My people were warriors once long ago, but we evolved beyond it. We became scientists, artists, philosophers. We thought that made us superior. But now I wonder if we lost something important. The Kreth raid our settlements and we just evacuate. We do not fight back. Is that wisdom or cowardice?" "Maybe it is both," Taemin said. "Or neither. Every species finds their own path. But I think there is no shame in defending what you love." They continued their journey. As the afternoon wore on, Taemin noticed Nira watching him more closely. Every time he solved a small problem, finding handholds on a difficult climb or spotting the safest path across unstable ground, she paid attention. She was learning, he realized. Learning how humans think and act under pressure. That evening, they reached a high ridge that overlooked a valley. Below them, Taemin could see the settlement. It looked like a collection of crystal structures similar to Nira's tent, arranged in organized patterns. Lights glowed from within them. People moved between the buildings. It looked peaceful and beautiful. "We are close," Nira said with relief in her voice. "By tomorrow morning we will reach them. And warn them about the Kreth." "Yes." Nira's expression darkened. "I hope we are in time." That night they made camp on the ridge. No cave this time, just open ground with a clear view in all directions. They took turns keeping watch again. During his shift, Taemin sat looking at the stars. Different stars than he could see from Earth. He wondered which one was Sol, his home star. It was out there somewhere, impossibly far away. Nira woke for her turn and sat beside him. For a while they just shared the quiet night together. "Taemin," she said softly, "thank you for coming with me. I would not admit it before, but I am glad you insisted. Having you here has made this journey less frightening." "We help each other," Taemin said simply. "That is what allies do." "Allies." Nira tested the word. "Yes, I think we are becoming that. Your people and mine, and perhaps more than allies. Perhaps friends," Taemin smiled. "I would like that." They sat together watching the three moons move across the sky, two people from different worlds who had found common ground in the wilderness. Tomorrow they would reach the settlement. Tomorrow they would face whatever came next. But tonight they had peace and friendship and hope. Sometimes Taemin thought that was enough. They reached the valley floor as the twin suns climbed higher in the morning sky. The settlement was quiet. Too quiet. Taemin felt his instincts screaming warning even before he saw the first signs of trouble. Scorch marks on the ground, broken crystal structures, and then the bodies. Nira ran forward with a cry of horror. 3 Valari lay motionless near what looked like it had been the entrance to the settlement. Taman followed, checking each one carefully. Still alive, he realized with relief. Unconscious but breathing. "We are too late," Nira said, her voice shaking. All 4 of her hands trembled. The Kreth were already here. Taman looked around carefully. The damage was recent, maybe hours old. The Kreth had struck during the night while he and Nira were camping on the ridge. Where's everyone else? They moved deeper into the settlement. More unconscious Valari lay scattered around. Some were injured, but most seemed to just be stunned by some kind of weapon. The buildings were ransacked, equipment thrown everywhere. Then they heard voices. Harsh, guttural voices speaking a language Taman did not recognize. He grabbed Nira's arm and pulled her behind a broken wall. They peered around carefully. In the settlement's central plaza, 6 Kreth soldiers stood guard over a group of maybe 20 Valari civilians. The Kreth were massive creatures, easily 8 feet tall, covered in thick armor-like skin. They had no visible eyes, just smooth faces with slits where their mouths were. Each one carried energy weapons that crackled with blue light. One Kreth was interrogating an elderly Valari, demanding something in broken Valari language. The old one kept shaking his head, refusing to answer. The Kreth soldier raised his weapon threateningly. "They are asking about weapons caches," Nira whispered, her voice tight with anger. "They want to know where the ancient technology is hidden." "We need to help them," Taman said. "There are 6 Kreth soldiers and 2 of us. This is suicide? Maybe, but we have to try." Taman studied the situation carefully. The Kreth were focused on their prisoners. They were not expecting an attack. That was good. The plaza had several exits and places to hide. Also good, but 6 heavily armed soldiers against 1 unarmed Valari and 1 human with a makeshift knife. Not good at all. "We cannot fight them directly," Taman said, his mind racing through possibilities. "But we can create confusion, make them think there are more of us than there really are. Separate them. Take them down one at a time." "How?" Taman pointed to a large crystal structure that had cracked but not fallen. "That building. If it collapses, it would block the main exit, trap some of the soldiers on this side. Can you make it fall?" Nira looked at the structure, calculating. "Yes, if I hit the support pillar with enough force, but that would alert them to our presence. That is the point." They split up to investigate. "We pick them off while they are separated." Tamin drew his crude metal knife. "I know it sounds crazy. It is crazy." But Nira's eyes held a new determination. "But it is also the only plan we have." "Very well. What do you need me to do?" They split up. Nira circled around to the crystal building while Tamin positioned himself near another exit. He found a piece of broken equipment and several small rocks. Not much, but enough. He waited until Nira was in position. Then she struck. All 4 of her arms slammed into the support pillar simultaneously. The crack echoed across the settlement like thunder. The crystal structure groaned, tilted, and came crashing down, blocking the main exit completely. The Kreth reacted instantly. 2 of them ran toward the noise while 2 others moved to secure the prisoners more tightly. The remaining 2 began scanning the area for threats. Taman threw a rock across the plaza. It clattered loudly against metal. One of the scanning Kreth turned toward the sound and moved to investigate. Alone. Perfect. Taman waited until the creature passed his hiding spot. Then he moved. He knew he could not overpower a Kreth in direct combat. They were too big, too strong. But he remembered his hand-to-hand training. Use your opponent's size against them. Strike the weak points. Move fast. He jumped on the Kreth's back, one arm wrapping around what he hoped was its neck while his other hand drove the metal knife toward a gap in its armor plating. The blade scraped against thick skin but found a soft spot. The Kreth roared in pain and surprise, staggering. Taman held on, pulling the knife free and striking again. And again, the creature fell. Taman rolled away, breathing hard. His hands were shaking. He had just fought an alien soldier and won. No time to think about it. 4 more to go. Nira appeared from another direction, dragging an unconscious Kreth. She had taken down one of the soldiers who investigated the collapsed building. Her forearms were incredibly strong when she chose to use them violently. Together they had eliminated 2 threats. 4 remained. The other Kreth realized they were under attack. They began shouting to each other, forming a defensive position around the prisoners. One of them fired his energy weapon blindly in several directions. Blue bolts of energy scorched the ground and buildings. "We need to free the prisoners," Nira said. "They can help fight." Taman nodded. "I will create a distraction. You get them out. You will be killed. Maybe, but we do not have better options." Taman grabbed several more rocks. "On my signal." He stepped into the open, deliberately making himself visible. The Kreth saw him immediately. 4 weapons turned in his direction. "Hey!" Taman shouted. "Looking for me?" The Kreth opened fire. Blue energy bolts streaked toward him, but Taman was already moving, running and diving behind cover. The bolts missed by inches. He threw rocks in different directions, making the Kreth think there were multiple attackers. They fired at shadows, at sounds, wasting energy. While they were focused on Taman, Nira reached the prisoners. She broke their restraints quickly with her superior strength. The Valari scattered, some running for safety while others grabbed makeshift weapons. The battle became chaos. The Kreth were powerful, but now they were surrounded, confused, fighting multiple opponents in unfamiliar terrain. The advantage shifted. Taman continued moving, leading 2 Kreth soldiers away from the group. He led them through narrow passages between buildings where their size became a disadvantage. He set simple traps, using broken equipment and unstable structures to slow them down. One Kreth cornered him in a dead-end alley. The creature raised its weapon, preparing to fire. Taman had nowhere to run. This was it, the energy bolt came. Taman threw himself sideways. The bolt missed him but hit the wall behind him, causing the already damaged crystal structure to collapse. Debris fell on the Kreth soldier, burying it under rubble. Taman crawled out from cover, coughing from dust. 3 Kreth down, 1 more to go. He returned to the plaza to find the freed Valari had overwhelmed the remaining Kreth soldiers. It was over. They had won. Nira ran to him, her face showing relief and worry. "You are hurt," Taman looked down. He had not noticed, but there was a burn across his shoulder where an energy bolt had grazed him. The pain hit him all at once now that the adrenaline was fading. "I am okay," he said, though his legs were shaking. "Everyone else?" "Some injuries, but no deaths. Thanks to you." An older Valari approached them. "Thank you, stranger. You fought with incredible bravery. What is your name?" "Taman. I am human." The old Valari's eyes widened. "Human? The species everyone says is weak and fragile? You just defeated 3 Kreth soldiers." "4, Nira corrected quietly. "He defeated 4 if you count the one he collapsed the building on." The old Valari stared at Taman with new respect. "Then perhaps we have been wrong about humans." Taman tried to respond, but his vision blurred. The pain in his shoulder was spreading. He felt Nira catch him as his legs gave out. Her 4 arms held him gently. "Rest now," she said softly. "You were very brave, very human, but also very foolish. I will take care of you now just as you took care of us." As consciousness faded, Taman's last thought was that he had done it. He had shown that humans could fight, could win, could make a difference. Maybe now the galaxy would see humanity differently. Maybe now they would understand. Taman woke up in a proper medical facility this time. Not a tent. The ceiling was white crystal that glowed with soft, healing light. His shoulder was bandaged professionally and the pain had reduced to a dull ache. He tried to sit up. Finally awake, Nira said from beside his bed. She looked tired but relieved. "You have been sleeping for 2 days." "2 days?" Taman's voice was rough. "What happened?" "You collapsed after the fight. The burn on your shoulder was worse than it looked and you were exhausted from everything. The settlement's healers treated you." Nira poured him water from a pitcher. "Drink, you need to rehydrate." Taman drank gratefully. As his mind cleared, questions came rushing back. "The Kreth? The prisoners? All safe. The Kreth soldiers we captured are being held for questioning. The Valari civilians you helped save are recovering. No one died thanks to our intervention." Nira's expression was complex, mixing pride with something else. "You are a hero, Taman. Everyone in the settlement is talking about the human who fought like a warrior. I just did what needed to be done." "Exactly, and that is remarkable." Nira leaned forward. "Word has spread to other settlements. They are all talking about you. The human who saved Valari lives. The human who defeated 4 Kreth soldiers with nothing but improvised tactics and determination. Some people think the stories are exaggerated, but I was there. I saw everything." Over the next few days, as Taman recovered, he met many Valari from the settlement and neighboring communities. They came to see the human for themselves, curious and respectful. Some asked questions about Earth and human combat techniques. Others simply wanted to thank him. An elder named Vera visited on the third day. She was ancient. Her skin faded to pale silver, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Young human," she said in perfect Korean, sitting beside his bed. "You have done something no outsider has done in generations. You fought for our people when you had no obligation to do so. You risked your life for strangers. Why?" Taman thought carefully about his answer. Because it was right. Because people needed help. That is what humans do. We help those who cannot help themselves, even at great personal cost. Especially then, Vera nodded slowly. I have lived for 300 cycles. I have seen many species come and go through this region of space. Most are either predators like the Kreth, taking what they want through force, or prey like us Valari, running from conflict. But humans seem to be something different. You are neither predator nor prey. You are protectors. Some humans are, Taman said honestly. Others are not so good. We are just people, with all the complexity that brings. Honesty too. That is rare. Vera stood to leave. I will speak to the council about you. About your people. I think it is time we reconsidered our stance on humanity. After she left, Nira explained more. Vera is very influential in Valari politics. If she speaks in favor of humans, others will listen. This could change everything for your species' diplomatic efforts. I was not trying to be a diplomat, Taman said. I just wanted to help. That is exactly why it matters, Nira replied. You did not come here with agendas or demands. You crashed on our planet by accident, and when faced with danger, you acted with honor and courage. That speaks louder than any treaty negotiations. On the 5th day, Taman was finally strong enough to walk around. Nira took him to see the repaired sections of the settlement. The Valari had worked quickly to rebuild what the Kreth had destroyed. As they walked, people greeted Taman with respect. Some even touched his shoulder gently as they passed, which Nira explained was a Valari gesture of gratitude. They stopped at the settlement's communication center. Nira had been working on something, using parts salvaged from the settlement's equipment and components from Taman's crashed escape pod. I have a surprise, she said, showing him a device. I built this using your improvised repair methods. It is a long-range beacon strong enough to reach any ships in this sector. Taman stared at the beacon. This was what he had been waiting for. A way to contact his crew to call for rescue. But looking at it now, he felt conflicted. Part of him wanted to stay longer, to continue learning about the Valari, to spend more time with Nira. We should activate it, Nira said gently, reading his expression. Your people need to know you are alive. You are right. Taman activated the beacon. It hummed to life, sending out its signal into space. Now it was just a matter of waiting for someone to receive it. The response came faster than expected. The next morning, a Valari runner arrived with news. A human ship had picked up the beacon signal and was approaching the planet. They would arrive within hours. Taman felt a rush of emotions. Relief that his crew was alive and coming for him. Sadness that his time here was ending. Nervousness about what came next. Nira must have felt something similar because she was quieter than usual as they prepared for the arrival. They stood together at the settlement's landing area, watching the sky. The ship appeared as a bright spot in the afternoon sky, growing larger as it descended. It was a standard diplomatic vessel, sleek and silver. When it landed, the door opened and Hana stepped out, followed by other crew members. Tae-min. Hana ran forward and hugged him tightly. We thought you were dead. Your escape pod signal disappeared completely. We have been searching for weeks. I am sorry I worried you, Tae-min said, returning the hug. I was rescued by... He gestured to Nira. By a friend. Hana looked at Nira with undisguised curiosity. You saved him? He saved himself, Nira said. And then he saved many others. Your crew member is remarkable, Captain Hana. Over the next hour, Tae-min explained everything that had happened. The crash, his recovery, the journey to the settlement, the fight with the Kreth. Hana listened with growing amazement. Do you realize what you have done? Hana asked. We came here hoping to establish basic communication with the Valari. Instead, you have become a legend. The settlement leaders have already contacted us requesting formal alliance talks with Earth. They want humans as partners, specifically because of what you did. I just helped when help was needed. Exactly. And that is why it matters, Hana smiled. Earth is going to love this story. The diplomat who became a hero. It is perfect. But Taman was not thinking about Earth's reaction. He was watching Nira, who stood apart from the group. Her forearms crossed in that gesture that meant she was uncomfortable. That evening, as his crew prepared the ship for departure, Taman found Nira standing at the edge of the settlement, looking out at the wilderness they had crossed together. "You are leaving tomorrow," she said without turning around. "Yes. I will miss our conversations, our adventures." She finally looked at him. "I learned more about humans in these weeks than in years of studying reports and data. You changed how I see your species, how I see many things. You changed me too," Taman admitted. "Before I met you, I thought of first contact as just a job. Diplomatic protocols and cultural exchanges. But now I understand it is about people. About individuals forming connections across the gaps between species." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the 3 moons rise one by one in the darkening sky. "This is not goodbye," Taman said finally. "This is just the beginning. Your people and mine will work together now. We will see each other again." "I hope so," Nira said softly, "because there is still much I want to learn from you. And much I want to teach you about my people. Then we will make it happen." Taman held out his hand in the human gesture of friendship. Nira looked at it, then carefully wrapped all 4 of her hands around his one hand. A hybrid gesture human and Valari combined. Just like their friendship, a new beginning indeed. The morning of departure arrived too quickly. Taman packed his few belongings, including the makeshift knife he had carried through the wilderness. It seemed like a lifetime ago that he had crashed on this planet, though it had only been a few weeks. Everything had changed in that short time. The settlement gathered to see them off. Word had spread about the humans' departure, and Valari from neighboring communities had traveled to witness it. They stood in respectful silence as Taman's crew loaded the last supplies onto their ship. Vera, the elder, approached Taman one final time. She carried something wrapped in shimmering cloth. "A gift," she said, unwrapping it to reveal a crystalline data device. "This contains our historical records, our cultural archives and diplomatic communications channels. We are entrusting this to you, Taman of Earth. Share it with your leaders. Tell them the Valari wish to form an alliance with humanity. Not because we need protection, though recent events have shown we could use allies, but because we recognize in humans something we had forgotten in ourselves. The courage to stand against darkness. The will to fight for what is right even when the cost is high." Taman accepted the device carefully. "I will deliver this personally to Earth's diplomatic council. And I will tell them everything. The truth about your people, about the threats you face, about the potential for friendship between our species. That is all we ask." Vera touched his shoulder in that Velary gesture of gratitude. "You have given us hope, young human. Do not underestimate the value of that gift." Captain Hana called from the ship. "Taman, we need to leave soon to make our jump window." He nodded but did not move yet. He was looking for Nira. She stood at the back of the crowd, partially hidden. When their eyes met, she moved forward slowly. They walked away from the crowd together, finding a quiet spot beside one of the repaired crystal buildings. The twin suns were rising, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "A beautiful morning on a beautiful world. So," Nira said, her voice carefully neutral, "you return to your people. Back to Earth, back to your life. Yes. But this is not an ending, Nira. It is a beginning. You know that. I know what you said. But space is vast. Earth is far from Valara Prime. You have your work, I have mine. How often will our paths actually cross again?" She looked away. "It is foolish of me to feel this way. We are from different species. We have known each other only a short time. Feelings do not follow logic," Taman said gently. "Human or Valari, that is universal. And you are not foolish. I feel it too." Nira's black eyes met his again, stars dancing in their depths. "You do?" "Of course I do. You saved my life. You trusted me when you had no reason to. We fought together, survived together, learned from each other. How could I not care about you?" Taman reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. It was a piece of metal from his original escape pod, polished smooth. He had worked on it during his recovery, shaping it into a simple pendant. "I made this. It is not much, but I wanted you to have something to remember me by." Nira took it carefully with 2 of her hands while her other 2 touched her chest in a gesture of deep emotion. "It is perfect. I will treasure it. She reached into her own clothing and produced a crystal, similar to the ones that lit her tent. And this is for you. It is a Valari memory crystal. I recorded my research notes, yes, but also personal logs. My thoughts about you, about humans, about what these weeks have meant to me. When you miss Valara Prime, when you want to remember, you can watch them. Taemin accepted the crystal, feeling its warmth in his palm. Thank you. There is something else I must tell you, Nira said, her voice dropping lower. Do you remember what I said when you first woke in my tent? About you talking in your sleep? About me calling you beautiful? Yes, that memory still embarrasses me. It should not. Because you were not wrong. Nira stepped closer. I did not understand human attraction then. I thought it was purely physical, something simple. But spending time with you taught me it is much more complex. It is about respect and shared experiences and connection. I feel that connection with you, Taemin, and I wanted you to know before you left. Taemin felt his heart racing. I feel it too. From that first day, even when I was injured and confused, I felt something, and it has only grown stronger. Then what do we do about it? Nira asked. Our peoples are negotiating alliances. You will be needed as a consultant, someone who understands Valari culture. I will likely be assigned as a liaison for human relations. We will work together in some capacity. We will see each other again, Taemin said firmly. Not just for work, but because we choose to. Because this connection, whatever it is, whatever it becomes, is worth maintaining. Distance cannot break bonds that are truly strong. Very human philosophy, Nira said, but she was smiling that wide Valari smile. Believing you can overcome any obstacle through sheer determination. It has worked so far. Yes, it has. They stood together for another moment, memorizing this scene. Then Captain Hana's voice called again, more urgently this time. I really have to go, Taemin said. I know. They embraced. It was awkward because of the height difference and Nira's forearms, but they made it work. Just like everything else, they adapted. When they finally separated, Nira said, Promise me something. Promise me you will tell Earth the truth about what humans can be. Not just warriors or diplomats, but friends. Bridge builders. Promise me you will help our peoples truly understand each other. I promise, Taemin said. And you promise me something too. Promise you will keep studying humans, but not as specimens or curiosities. Study us as equals. As partners. I promise. One last look, one last smile, and then Taemin turned and walked toward the ship. He did not look back. It would hurt too much. Inside the ship, his crew was already strapped in. Captain Hana gave him a knowing look as he took his seat. She is special, Hana said quietly. Yes. First contact missions rarely go this way. Most times it is all formal protocols and cultural misunderstandings. But you made a real connection. Changed how an entire species sees humanity. That is rare, Taemin. Do not let it go. I do not plan to. The ship lifted off smoothly. Through the window, Taemin watched the settlement grow smaller. He could still see the crowd of Valari watching them leave. And at the edge, one figure standing alone with forearms raised in farewell. As Valara Prime disappeared behind them, and they jumped to faster-than-light travel, Taemin held the memory crystal Nira had given him. He would watch it later, when he was alone and could process everything that had happened. For now, he began composing his official report. The diplomatic corps would need detailed accounts of everything. The crash, the rescue, the Kreth attack, the alliance offer. But more than facts and events, he needed to capture the feeling of his time on Valara Prime. The sense of discovery, the growth of understanding between species, the friendships formed. He started typing. Report on first contact with Valari civilization. Primary observer, Taemin, Diplomatic Corps. Date. He paused, then deleted everything except the title. He would start over with something more honest. What I learned from the Valari is that first contact is not about technology or treaties. It is about people. About two individuals from different worlds finding common ground, building trust, creating hope. The Valari are not just potential allies. They are potential friends. And friendship, I have learned, can bridge any distance, overcome any difference. He continued writing, the words flowing easily now. He told the truth about everything. The dangers, the victories, the moments of fear and courage. And through it all, he told the story of what humans could be at their best. Not conquerors or traitors, but partners, protectors, friends. When he finally finished hours later, he sat back and added one final line. Words that had become famous in human culture. Words that now felt more true than ever. Humanity. Fuck yeah. 3 months later, Taemin stood in the diplomatic hall on Earth, watching as representatives from humanity and the Valari signed the first official alliance treaty between their species. Nira was there as part of the Valari delegation. When she saw him, she smiled that wide smile, and he smiled back. They had promised to see each other again, and they had kept that promise. Just as they would keep all the promises to come, because some connections once formed could never truly be broken. And some friendships were worth any distance, any obstacle, any challenge. The future stretched before them, full of possibility. Humans and Valari, working together, learning from each other, building something new. And at the center of it all, a human man and a Valari woman who had met by accident, but found something that felt like destiny. The galaxy was vast, but somehow it felt smaller now. More connected, more full of hope, and it had all started with a simple crash landing on an alien world, and a voice saying, "You were talking about me in your sleep." Sometimes, Taemin thought as he watched Nira cross the hall toward him, the best stories begin with the most unexpected accidents. And sometimes, just sometimes, those accidents change everything for humanity, for the Valari, for everyone willing to believe that different species could not just coexist but truly care for one another. Humanity. Fuck yeah, indeed.